Hello, I'm Elizabeth Webb, your yoga lifestyle coach. Today's focus is low back. Sometimes we have low back problems, whether we feel it or don't. And if we are having any discomfort in our low back, today's routine can be a routine, or you can pick and choose some of the postures, the yoga poses that might fit into your everyday living, or you can do a little segment of it as a routine for yourself. So this first one that I'm doing is, I like to call it the sitting cat-cow. So I'm really thinking about my low back, and I'm lifting my chest up, and I'm releasing and sinking back. All right, and if this cat-cow pose is difficult for you to sit on your legs like this, there's many props that can be utilized to make something like this comfortable, or we can cross our legs and sit with our legs crossed. But then in this position, I want to share with you how to get even subtler, how to get deeper into your low spine, the low back. And that's going to be from Kundalini, the Kundalini style of yoga, and it's called spinal flex. So in spinal flex, we want to make sure that we're not moving the head or the shoulders, and that we're just moving the belly. And then it's very subtle. You might not even notice I'm moving, because we're really using the belly muscles to pull the low back, and then we're letting the belly muscles come forward to arch the low back. So it doesn't look like this. Oh, this is easy. I'm bouncing, and we don't want bouncing, and it doesn't look like this. Okay, so the head, the shoulders stay still, and it takes a lot of strength. And then we can incorporate that with our breath of fire, and that would look like this. And we can do that for a total of 3 minutes. All right, but moving on. Let's have our ankles in alignment, and let's think about our low back as we fold forward. Now, if you're feeling tightness in the inner thighs or the knees, or maybe somewhere in the upper legs, or maybe in the hips, well, I think that just means that we're too tight in those areas, because we actually want to be able to feel this pose in the low back. But like I said, if you're feeling it in different areas, just got to keep practicing yoga to get those other areas opened up and stretched out, so that we can feel it where we want to feel it. So we're keeping our head in alignment with our spine, and we're elongating through. I love teaching this to the little kids, because I say, keep your spine straight and put your forehead on the ground. And the young ones that are still nice and flexible sometimes are able to do that. For a little extra challenge in midair, we're going to take our legs, we're going to do that same pose, but let's change the way our legs are crossed. Because sometimes when we sit, we probably sit with our legs crossed the same way each time. So that now that you've taken time to change your leg cross, you can probably feel that might feel kind of All right. So then walking the hands out in front, keeping the spine and the neck in a nice straight line, folding forward. Ah, that is so delightful. If you do feel it in the knees or the legs or the hips, that's okay, because it's loosening everything up and getting you ready, to eventually feel that in the back. So now we're going to take our left hand and let's bring it to our right knee. And then you can take that right hand behind you, use that arm behind you to elongate, and then use the arm in front of you to help twist. But if we're focusing on the back, let's use the strength of the abdominal muscles, the obliques, and let's use 70 to 80% of the belly strength to create the twist. And then 30, maybe 20% of the effort is in the arms. Okay? Then we can turn the head over that back shoulder. And then staying in this nice deep twist, we can get a little neck stretch by looking towards the other shoulder. And then switching sides. Oh, yes. Oh, that feels so good. So healthy for our spine to be able to twist. Nice and long, extending upward, twisting. And then turning our head to get that nice twist. And then coming back to center. And now let's lie down on our mat and let's take a little test. I'm all into tests. Of course, I'm an instructor. So as a teacher, I like to just kind of see where you're at. So nice and slowly engage the abdominal muscles, tuck the hips under, and then place one vertebrae on the ground, and the next, and the next. Nice and slowly lowering down. And of course, as a yoga therapist, it's nice to do a routine like this for the low back, for therapeutic reasons. So whatever you've got going on in your back, of course, pay attention to how it feels. Make sure your doctor knows that you're participating in yoga. So knee squeezes sometimes can be so releasing. So we want to make sure that the back of the shoulders are on the ground as well. And then we're lengthening the arms with the strength of the upper back on the ground. Squeezing the knees into the chest. And then from our happy baby pose, we're going to reach for the legs, or preferably the feet. And see if you can bring your feet right above your knees. And bringing those shoulders back down to the ground. See if the shins can be in alignment and parallel to each other so you can feel some work going on in the hamstrings. When we can release the hamstrings, we're able to help the low back release. Getting that tightness to release from the psoas muscle. And another one of my favorite poses is the spinal rolls. So in the spinal roll, you want to bring your head up, tuck your chin into your chest, hold behind your legs, round your back, take a deep breath in. You can pretend like you're on a swing, and you can swing your legs straight and then fold them, and that can help with momentum. Otherwise, try to keep the spine rounded, keep the head out of the way. And a nice thing to do is to do our spinal rolls for 3 minutes. So we just did that for a little while. And then from here, we're going to come up and we're going to do the camel. So in the camel, we're thinking about engaging the belly muscles to find that elongation. And then we're using that to lift the heart up. We're bringing the low ribs down and in. And we're bringing the belly up and in. And then we can look at one foot. And then as we look at the other foot, can we place that hand on it? And as long as we're creating this elongation as we go back, then we're not just falling on the low back. We're creating length and we're protecting our low back so that then when we go back, we're able to see yeah. Nice. How we can open up the front body, strengthening the back body, and protecting that in our camel pose. And then a nice counterbalance is our extended child's pose again. And then walking ourselves back. Onto our hands and knees. And from our hands and knees, we're doing our cat-cow. So in the cat-cow, we're making sure that the hands are right below the shoulders. Knees are below the hips. We look between the feet and make sure we don't see toes or feet or legs. Then we know we're in proper alignment. And as we're exhaling, we're actually pressing the top of the feet down into the ground, almost as though we wanted to lift the knees off the ground. That, without lifting the knees off the ground, that actually helps to engage the abdominal muscles. So with each exhalation, notice how the low back is able to stretch and release, and pressing the feet down. Notice how that's bringing the belly nice and strong. Inhale. Now we're using that abdominal strength to elongate and lengthen. Oh, that feels so good. Can just the cat-cow is something that we can do on its own, and it's a beautiful posture to practice whenever you can. Now, from the same cat-cow, we're going to finish and bring our spine into a nice straight line, and taking one arm and extending it forward in the opposite leg. And as we extend it backward, we feel the extremities, the arm and the leg, extending away with the strength of the belly. So we're using the abdominal strength to extend and release. And then switching sides. So the palm is facing medial, as though you were shaking someone's hand. And we're really extending that foot, that leg back. We're extending the arm forward. Really tune in to how you can get the belly muscles to help with this elongation. So here in our spinal balance, nice and strong. And moving into a standing forward bend, let's first of all sit on our feet. If our feet are tight, and if this is an uncomfortable pose, yes, join me. And if this is an uncomfortable pose to be in, the tight feet can definitely have an effect on creating a tight lower back. Stretching the feet for just one more breath. And then let's take the knees off the ground and let's lower our head and let's lift the hips. So in our standing forward bend, bending right at the hip hinge, feeling the release in the back. Allow your knees to bend. If you're feeling tightness, you can allow the knees to bend so that you can bend right at the hip so that your torso can rest on your thighs. Now, if I straighten my legs and try to fold in half, then I'm actually putting pressure on my low back, and that's uncomfortable. So we want to have a sandwich with the upper legs and the lower torso. And then from there, we can try to straighten the legs, but keeping this nice and connected. Yeah, good. Feeling your belly resting on your thighs, working on releasing the heels into the ground and your sit bones up to the sky. And then let your head and neck relax. Just hang out here for one more breath. And then let's open up into downward facing dog. So let's take our hands and let's walk our hands forward, providing that you were at the back of the mat, just like I was. And from here, we can bend the knees again. Take the sit bones, reach the sit bones right up to the sky. Relax the head between the arms. Elongate through the arms. Engage the abdominal muscles. And then try to straighten your legs. And be aware of the sensations that are being created here in downward facing dog. What a wonderful pose, opening up the entire back body. Then we're going to move into our pigeon pose. So in the pigeon pose, we can bring one of our legs and bring the knee all the way up between the hands. And then we can walk that back leg back, extending that straight leg back behind us. And instead of just sinking the torso down, continue to try to elongate the torso up so you can feel that coming out of the hips. And if that's tight, we can feel the body releasing and letting go to eventually feel that in the low back. And let's switch sides. Doing this on the other leg. Oh, it feels so good. And of course, if this is very comfortable, you can keep that elongation in the spine and extend downward. To come out of this pose, we can tuck the toe under and think about downward facing dog. So as we lift this extended leg up, then this other leg just meets it, and here we are again in this wonderful yoga pose in downward facing dog. And then another pose that's helpful for low back is any of our poses that work with the psoas muscle. And in our boat pose, we'll do another little test here, and let's see if we can come up into boat. And from here, we can slowly open ourselves nice and slowly. We're going to lie on our back, preparing for our corpse pose. Nice slow motion. And then just letting yourself rest on the ground. Anytime we do any type of exercise, I think it's a great idea just to take, even if it's just 1 minute, and just do some deep, slow, full breaths. Just taking some deep breaths, doing some breathing. It's just very helpful for allowing the body to come back into balance as we give ourselves permission to totally relax. Just give yourself permission to totally relax and just let go.